G'day there folks, I'm Beanie and you're watching Beanie Draws. This is the continuation of the Mosasaurus. This is the sketch part of it, building up the drawing, and then we'll be leading up to the colorization of this drawing. Just a forewarning that the first kind of half of this video is a little bit pixelated now folks. I don't know why the camera did that, but it's still good information, I think, shared in the first half of the video, which I reckon you guys could learn from. So yeah, now here's the next part of the video. Hope you enjoy. G'day there folks, I'm Beanie and you're watching Beanie Draws, and I'm back with this Mosasaurus, which I'm now going to take into the rendering stage. At the moment, I'm not really going to do much detailing in the actual Mosasaurus just yet. What I want to do is I want to render out the background. So we'll see how that goes. I'm doing this a little bit differently. You'll probably know some of the other artworks I've done. I will go into the ballpoint pen. Sometimes I just go into using a felt tip pen. But this time I thought I would actually do some rendering old school with pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make it kind of look like there's a bit of a vignetting of the image. I don't know if you guys have seen, like, you know, photos where the outside of the image is all sort of darker and toned out on the outer edges than it is on the inside. That's what you call vignetting. Basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to get a nice dark atmosphere, kind of giving it an underwater atmosphere. So I'm going to have like a gradual gradient tone and see how that goes. So I guess we all know how to render. I'm just going to see if there's an easy or interesting way of explaining this just quickly. What I'm using here is I'm using a mechanical pencil, a 0.5mm mechanical pencil, but I'm using it basically on a flat angle. The nib, I guess you call it a nib. Basically, that point is so extruded that I can basically lay it almost exactly flat, and it will leave lead on the paper. I mean, you can do the same thing with an old school traditional pencil, traditional wooden pencil. It's just that with wooden traditional pencils, they do get blunt very quickly, especially when doing this kind of style. I mean, doing this kind of style with a mechanical pencil also goes through the lead very quickly, but I don't know, I just find it's a lot easier to work with. You don't have to sharpen your pencil too much, and you just kind of, you don't work with the pencil much, you just use your wrist, basically. That's what I'm doing right now. So around here I'm doing a very, very, very light, it's not a wash, but I would basically associate it with a wash, like, you know, a light wash of paint. We're doing a light wash of lead, kind of similar kind of style. And what I'm going to be trying to do, if this is in focus, let's see if it's in focus. Yeah, we're in better focus now. What I'm going to try and do is have the water effects still visible, but not overly visible. And because there's so much water in this image, that's why I'm trying this out with pencil rather than ballpoint pen. I mean, I would normally do the Mosasaurus part in ballpoint pen, but I kind of can see in my eye how the rendering and shading for the underwater part will look, and I would not be able to do that with ballpoint pen, well, not very easily. So I'm just going incredibly lightly with the pencil and just building up my layers of tone bit by bit. And that was my phone vibrating. The other thing about this image, for rendering's sake, is that it's underwater, which naturally means you have the underwater effects. That will be difficult, because admittedly I don't think I've ever done anything underwater. Well, I have done underwater scenes before, but nothing that has like the refracting and reflecting light. So basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just tackling the easy part, which is the darkness in the underwater background, and then I guess what I'll do is I'll tackle the light. I think the best way to do this would be to just put a light layer over the top of the whole Mosasaurus, and then use an eraser to erase out bits of lead, which will make the light refractions look more like light refractions. I guess we'll see how that goes, but for now I'm just gonna do this bit of rendering. I'm not going to color in I'm going to color in outside of these wiggly lines, so that I can work with those a little bit later. So I'll probably time-lapse the rest of this little bit of shading, just so you can kind of watch as I build up the rest of this part, and then I'll take it to the actual rendering of the Mosasaur, but I feel like I want to have the background done first this time. Now I suppose technically I'll add in another bit of information here. Really probably should be using say some charcoal, a charcoal stick, or a graphite stick maybe. Something that just is made of pure graphite, pure lead. So you can just you'd get a stick of lead or a stick of graphite or something, and then you just rub it over the page, and they would spread the lead out very quickly, which would make this process a lot quicker. But I don't have that, so I'm not doing that. But if you have something like that, you could use that, and that would make this process a lot quicker. I'm actually just thinking now that it's kind of a shame that I didn't draw this on watercolor paper, because this actually probably would look really good with some watercolor. Maybe what I'll do is I might put some hints of color in here, which would make this the first, other than the blue the Velociraptor, other than that, that would make this the first Beanie Draws video where I really try out a bit of color. I guess we'll see how we go then. There won't be a huge amount of tutorial aspect of the coloring stage, but I might explain, because basically I'd put well, maybe I should just do it. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I will do it. Okay, for this part, I am going to be using just some basic Faber-Castell color pencils. You should be able to pick these up in any country that you're in. I don't know if Faber-Castell is limited to any particular countries, but, I'm sure they are around everywhere. It's probably not the best way to do this, but I'm basically just going to put in light layers of blue. Just putting it in there. I don't do all that much color, to be honest, so I'm probably not the best person to be teaching about coloring and coloring practices. But basically what I do when I color, especially in this kind of situations like this, is I'm not doing color for the sake of actually making it look realistic and colored. I'm just doing hints of color just to add a bit of tone, add a little bit of spice, I guess, artist terms there. Just kind of more of a graphic style. You'll probably notice that if you've seen sort of more graphic design styled illustrations, they focus less, well, depending on the artist that is, they focus less on coloring for the sake of making the whole artwork look like an actual proper colored artwork, and more they use color to hint and to highlight and just give it a bit of extra, I don't know, life or something. Like if I was going to go into huge amounts of detail, I might still, I might not, but if I was going to go into a huge amount of detail, I'd put in like greens and dark blues in here. But to keep it like, if I was going to do it just in a graphic style, I'd probably just limit this to just using blue, and maybe just keeping the Mosasaurus itself uncolored. Just as a bit of an interesting contrast. See how we go. This artwork may develop beyond that, or I may just keep it how it is. I'm also noticing that, you'll probably notice this too, is when I'm putting the blues in, it seems to just be making my greys darker, which isn't exactly what I want. So I might have to just try erasing some of this. Good thing about Faber-Castell pencils is they actually seem to erase pretty well, considering most other pencils don't actually erase very well. So Faber-Castell, if you haven't done much with it, you can actually get away, if you're not using too much pressure, you can usually get away with erasing a little bit of it, and then, like, see here, it makes it a little bit easier to, erase some of the lead parts. I might erase some of the lead parts and the bits I want to do properly blue, and fix it up then, but we'll see how we go. Like I said, this is less of a tutorial on how to actually color, and more just like you watching me experimenting about how I go about making artworks. But you might learn something from this, so, if you're still watching along, yeah. Just for the record, if you're really wondering, for this color, it's a Faber-Castell 347. And I'm going to switch to the 349 now. Now, I should also probably point out, before I get any major comments, I probably will get comments anyway, because, how many people will actually watch this from the beginning to the end? I guess we'll see, but, yes, I'm very well aware that in this particular, like, the Mosasaurus bit of the scene does look like kind of how it looks from Jurassic World. However, all this area is meant to be very light in the actual shot. It gets darker on this end and lighter on this end, but what I'm doing is complete opposite. I'm having it light on this end, dark on that end. Why? Well, because that's my artistic right to be able to do whatever I want with this image. But I just kind of felt like I wanted to have, like, I wanted to borrow from Jurassic World, but I didn't want it to be specifically exactly like Jurassic World, so I wanted to look more like it's actually in the ocean rather than in a theme park. Here's another tip for you artists out there who are maybe going a little bit, moving on from being intermediate to advanced. If you want to eventually, well, theoretically, you probably wouldn't be able to sell this as a print, because technically speaking, it's a steal from a movie, so it's technically considered intellectual copyright. But if you have it, different enough from the actual movie, you can't really copyright dinosaurs, because, it's like trying to copyright a tiger. You just can't really do that. But that aside, if you want to do something like this for a print or something, and you don't want to have, like, it in a style like this where it's kind of messy on the edge, if you want to have it for posters, what I highly recommend, it's what I'm kind of doing right now, and that is having some of your pencil marks as far out to the edge of the page as possible, even if you don't intend it to be that far. That way, when you're, resizing your image for posters or, for merchandise, or if you want to use your artwork for a banner or something for for your YouTube channel or something like that, or just, just a graphic or something, it's usually better to just have your pencils and artwork expanding, or your background expanding out as far as you can, so then you can kind of like work around it, or crop in. If you're using it for a poster, you can crop in, and if you're want to expand out, you can like select bits and pieces from the outer rim and just clone stamp it. But it's usually best to have like it going out to the outer edge, even though that takes a lot of pencil. But that's another tip. Just take it right out to the edge. Unless, of course, your image requires, like, if you're not doing this, if you're just doing an image in general, you've got a commission work and they want it to have, like, a specific size, you do it to a specific size, but it's best just to, like, go out to the edge and then crop it in. That's the graphic designer in me talking. Just adding bubbles here and there just for the sake of it. See, when you're working on an artwork, it can be sometimes quite organic. Things you don't intend on doing, like colouring the whole background, tend to just happen when you're working on an artwork. I just had a random idea. Let's see how we go about putting some sun rays just casually in here. Using an eraser, just erase in some sun rays. If that kind of ruins the image or not, let's just see how it goes. Oh yeah, seems alright. See, that's the good thing about Faber-Castell pencils. You can't really do this with Derwents. You can, however, do this with Faber-Castells, because they're light. You just erase a bit of the pencil and you can get little effects like sun rays. Just wanted to give that a bit of a try. I'm probably not gonna put the pencils all the way out here, because in the final thumbnail and the final oh no, I dropped my sharpener. For the final screenshot, what I usually put in the end of these videos is I wanted to have it for 1080p widescreen, and what I'm doing right now, that won't fit in there, but I'm just putting this in here for the sake of it. Okay, gonna blend in a bit of darker blue maybe to see how it looks. Doesn't have a huge effect. I'm going to now just put in some pencil in here, some lead, just to darken it out a bit. As you can see from the reflection here, on this end it works okay, because we had the black pencil, we had the lead first, and then we went over it with blue, with the color pencil. Down this end, however, it's got kind of the opposite effect, so I'm probably going to have to go over it again with pencil, just to kind of try and get rid of that reflective light. Because in the webcam, it looks really shiny, but to my eyes, this looks normal. Now, just go over the top of that. Look, magic! So I think up here my safest bet is to erase the bits of blue, colour it in with lead, and then re-go over it all again with the blue. So there's something that I've just learnt, which you guys can now learn with me. If you want to do, if you want to make dark areas dark, unless you're going to use a black color pencil, do your lead first, and then color over the top of that lead with your color pencils. And that should hopefully hopefully then it won't reflect as much. And it's at this point where the camera finally gains focus, so yeah, sorry about that before, hopefully don't mind too much. And now I'm just going to use a bit of paper to hold my hand onto while I'm just darkening out around here, so that I don't use my hand to smudge all that pencil I just done. Now I'm leaving this area white for now, because that's going to have some blood in it for the shark. Alright, so I think we probably should actually start getting to and rendering the Mosasaur, I guess. Really, we should have done the background last, but as you can tell, I had a pretty distinct idea of how I wanted this Mosasaur to look like, or how I wanted the background to look like anyway, so let us try now and render in a bit of the Mosasaur. Maybe put in some skin detail as well, but yeah. I'm gonna have to use this bit of paper now to just make sure I don't smudge my pencil work, which really you'd want to do at the end, but oh well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm using a bit of a still from the movie to kind of see where I think the rendering should go. Obviously it's going to have light shadow underneath it, even though technically there's shadow there and light there, but still, this is art, it's not real. So I'm just going to put in some first stage rendering tone, and then maybe put in some like the scales and detail a bit more. Now I'm going to give it some little texture lines around here, and probably throughout the whole body, just to, I mean, I don't know for sure if Mosasaurus is meant to have scales or not. Part of me thinks it does, part of me thinks it's more like a whale and it doesn't have, it's probably like a cross between a crocodile and a whale. So I'm just kind of putting in little lines lightly to kind of indicate where I think maybe scales and maybe slight wrinkles and cracks in the skin would appear. I'm going to give it a light overall bit of shading, making it darker up near the tail section, just so it kind of looks like it's blending in with the background, because, you know, the atmosphere and the water. Okay, I'm going to give it an overall light shading of grey throughout the whole Mosasaur, and seeing if my plan works of just erasing kind of lines and shapes, and seeing if that can give us the effect of water reflections off its body. Okay, just for the sake of it, let us see how this might work for erasing bits of light to make it look like it's actually got reflections and refractions on its skin. So to be honest, I have no idea how this is going to go, so let's see and hope for the best. Don't know if that's really working very well. Probably need something much thinner. I don't know. that kind of look like it works? Let's just try and put in some detail to make it maybe emphasize the water refractions. I mean, if I had a thinner, harder rubber, it probably would, or eraser I should say, it'd probably work better. But I suppose it's not too bad. Kind of gets the idea across. Now I'm just trying some squiggly little lines to maybe make it look more water reflection-y, but might not. As you can tell, I haven't really done underwater scenes before, so forgive me if I'm not really teaching you very well on how to do underwater. This is one of those situations where I need to watch some tutorials on how to do underwater. That's kind of looking alright. I could probably do better with practice, but it's not looking too bad. I'm going to give it more spines along its back though. And I'm basically using shadow as a way of bringing out those spikes. Now I'm gonna risk messing this whole thing up by adding a little bit of blue to the back end of the Mosasaur, just for the atmosphere, to show that it's in the distance. I think what I might try and do is just erase down here and then go over it with blue. So you can kind of tell now what I mean by using one basic color and then kind of making it kind of like a graphic-y style, like black and white, but with one color as a selective color. And I'm gonna put red in there as well for the blood, but just basically having like one color as your sort of key color, and that kind of gives you sort of a I don't know, a different style of illustration compared to, you know, the multicolor style. I think black and white with one color can sometimes give it an interesting effect. And now I'm just going to retry and do these little reflection marks like I did last time. Just to get some like little bits of detail in there. Again, I'm not sure how well it's working out, but it's worth a try. Alright, just for the sake of it, now let's put in the blood part. Now I'm just going to use a bit of a razor to kind of smudge it out a bit, just to kind of get a bit of a faded vibe there. I mean, it's not too bad. It looks better on the page than it does on the screen, to be honest, so you'll see what the end result looks like soon when I get it to the last part. I'll use a bit of a brown. Brown kind of is a little bit of a dark red, I suppose. It's in the red sort of spectrum. And now I'm just going to put in some of these streak lines again with the razor. Because I think those streak lines actually make it look pretty good. So on one hand it looks quite a bit different from Jurassic World, but on the other hand it's meant to be more kind of illustrative than from the movie. I guess you could kind of consider this sort of like concept art a bit, where it looks quite a bit different from the final end result, but I'm actually quite happy with the results of the shine throughs anyway. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you might have learnt something. If not, hopefully you just enjoyed watching it being developed. But yeah, I might refine it a little bits down the track, but I'm fairly happy with how this one turned out. Hopefully it satisfies all those people who are asking for the Mosasaur. I will be doing the Allosaurus and Carnotaurus down the track as well, but for now I'm quite tired after all that drawing, so yeah, I'm gonna leave this here. Give it a thumbs up and a comment on what you thought if you liked this video. If you haven't already subscribed, hopefully this video has earned a subscription. And yeah, I will have more videos for you down the track, so thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cheerio. And here's the final piece after it's been scanned. I decided I wanted to scan it so it didn't look so blurry and crappy because of how the camera picks up the light. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe, tell me what you think of the video. I'll have other stuff for you down the track, but yeah, hopefully you like this video, and I will catch you next time. Cheerio.